family and friends. We are here this afternoon to remember Marion with much love and respect. We're here to reflect upon her life with a great sense of thankfulness for the many ways that she has touched your life for the better through the years. To celebrate what she has done and, more importantly, who she has been. And also we're here to mourn her death. This is a tough day, of course, especially for Tom, for Stuart, and for you close family and close friends. Nothing really prepares you for being face to face with the death of someone precious. It stretches your resources to the limit. And we understand that each of you here has your own good reasons for feeling the sorrow and the pain of Marion's death. Today, though, is about more than sadness. It's also a time to be in touch with special memories of Marion that you treasure. She was very much a people person, and that is simply underlined by the number of you friends who are here today. Marion has been a friend of rare quality to many of you. Today is an opportunity to recall her life and her style and to be thankful for having known and loved her. So today's a day of strangely mixed emotions, the highs and the lows, the precious memories that can lift your spirits and bring a smile and a chuckle, and the painful ones that can bring you low and bring you tears. That's okay. We don't give medals for bravery here. This is just the way it is when death comes near. My name is Douglas and I'm a funeral celebrant, and I'm here simply to enable the plans that the family have made for today to happen in the way that they wish. The music that we have heard and will continue to hear, the story of Marion's life, the lovely testimonies that three of the family are going to bring, the images that we will be seeing on the screen. These things have all been chosen carefully. And of course you will add your own memories of Marion in a very personal way to make this occasion special for you. So we hope that you'll each feel included today, because really it's together that we can best bring this final chapter in Marion's story to a gentle and dignified conclusion and give her the best send-off we can. So now we come to Marion's story. And this is what the family have asked me to share with you. Marion was born on the 24th of January 1940 to Janet and George Appleby in the seaside town of Leven in Fife in Scotland, after the birth of their first child, George. When Marion was 2 years old, her father George was killed in the war, and Janet was left to care for her two young children. Marion's schooling began in 1945 at primary school in Methil, and then on to secondary school. In 1952, Marion's mother Janet married James Isaac, a widower who had 3 children already, Mary, Nancy and James. So the family blended together with a great deal of give and take. And then Janet and James had a child, Isabel, and the family had grown to 6 children. Tom said they must have been a bit like the Brady Bunch. Janet's second husband, James, died in 1954. But with great support from her wider family, Janet managed her last large family very well. And these were the years that shaped Marion's idea of family and how important family is. And she kept that love of family all her life. Marion left school in 1955 and found work with the National Coal Board as a comptometrist and was responsible for the coal workers' pay. And thus began her love of working in finance, in which she had real skill. She continued to deal with banking and finance for the rest of her working life. Marion first met Tom in 1960 in a fish and chip shop. One of the girls in the shop apparently suggested to Marion that she should go out with Tom, and her reply was, "I'd never go out with him." Well, she obviously changed her mind because they were engaged in Dublin and Ireland the next year, and Marion and Tom were married in the town of Methil on the 8th of September 1962. Some of Marion's extended family had emigrated to Australia, and they encouraged Tom and Marion to follow, which they did in May 1963, living first in the Finsbury hostel and then out of hostel life into a flat in Kensington Gardens. This must have been an especially tough time for Marion later in 1963 with family deaths, first her uncle here in Australia and then her mother's death in Scotland. But this was now her new life, with Tom and the wider family in Australia. It wasn't long before Marion's brother George came out from Scotland, and in 1964 she and Tom moved into their first home at Gillies Plains. There were many good memories of that home, and Tom and Marion made many friends there. After the loss of their mother, Marion's younger sister Isabel moved to Australia to live with Tom and Marion. And once again, the importance of family life became obvious. And cousins and relations helped to make Marion's early years in Australia happy as they supported her and as they supported each other. Marion's working life in Australia became centred on the finance industry, with various jobs with banks and building societies over the years, an area that she excelled in and thoroughly enjoyed. At the same time, she had responsibility for her teenage sister Isabel. Balancing work with those responsibilities was more than a full-time job, but one which Marion relished. They moved to Modbury in 1969 after Isabel married Ken, and in 1972, twins Andrew and Stuart were born. Life as a mother to 2 baby boys was certainly very different from raising a teenager, but Marion excelled. Of course, the family still in Scotland were very important to them, so in 1976, Tom and Marion returned with their 2 young sons, revisiting their extended family and proudly introducing Andrew and Stuart to everyone they visited, giving the boys a taste of their parents' homeland. Back in Australia, the years that followed were very busy. Still working in the finance industry, sometimes with 2 jobs, and with Tom working shifts in the police force, caring for 2 growing boys would have been difficult if it weren't for Marion's extended family support. Between them, Marion and Tom and the family were able to manage those busy years. In 1983, the 4 of them returned to Scotland for another family holiday. Marion was excited to show Andrew and Stuart highlights of her and Tom's life in Scotland. Once the boys were at high school, Marion became even more career-minded and had the skills and the experience to move into supervisory and management positions, continuing to play an active role in the boys' completion of Year 12. Family and friends still remained important to Marion's life. She was very able at building relationships and helping others. She and Tom continued to attend many parties and dinners. Their social life was a full one. By the early 1990s, Andrew and Stuart had left home to establish their own lives and careers, and in 1999, one of Marion's happiest times was Stuart and Jackie's wedding. Family came from as far afield as Scotland to share in the event, and it was a great occasion. In 2001, Tom and Marion visited the United States to travel and to spend quality time with Andrew, who had been living in London and then New York. They were still on their return flight to Australia when the World Trade Center catastrophe occurred, and Andrew was tragically amongst the nearly 3,000 people who were killed that day. His death was a huge loss in Marion's life. Following one of the lowest points in her life, on the 17th of December 2003, Stuart and Jackie's son Hudson was born, a highlight of her life. She and Tom spent a lot of time with Hudson. Especially when he started school, they would pick him up and spend time with him each day. The close family support was vital to the whole family and gave Marion the opportunity to forge a close relationship with Hudson. Marion visited Woomera as often as she could to spend time with Hudson and loved the school holidays when the family stayed together in their house in Adelaide. In these last 10 years or so, Tom and Marion travelled and did a lot of cruises. They became a much loved way of seeing the world and of meeting many, many friends. In these later years, Marion battled with ill health in several disguises. Diabetes was one, an ongoing challenge to her. And to add to that, she suffered and then overcame breast cancer. And that speaks volumes about her resilience and her positive outlook. Also, during the same period of her life, she became deeply involved in volunteer activities. She participated in Red Cross, in Probus, and also in the village social club. Her Red Cross work was part of Marion's response to Andrew's death and the great support that the Red Cross in the United States had been to her. Charities were never turned away. She just enjoyed helping others. Tom told me not to mention this, but once or twice he apparently said to Marion, "Isn't it time to leave this volunteer work to others?" To which Marion replied, typically, "But I'm happy doing it." You can probably imagine her saying that. She kept in touch with friends after retiring from work in 2001 and used to meet regularly with work colleagues from various parts of her working life. These last months have brought a deterioration in Marion's health. Walking became difficult, and then a heart attack a few weeks ago was masked by her diabetes and went untreated until the cardiac arrest. This brought the critical situation